Benvenuti amici and welcome to Life is Grape in Tuscany, where we uncork the rich traditions, delicious wines, and timeless dishes of this beautiful Italian region. I'm Rebecca Christofferson Goutennoir, your wine-centric guide through the vineyards, olive groves, cheese caves, and so much more. So whether you are living in Tuscany, coming to visit, or just have Tuscany in your heart, this podcast is aimed at you. Welcome back to Life is Grape in Tuscany, the podcast where we explore the people, places, and flavors that make Tuscany such a rich and delicious place to live and travel. Today's episode is all about liquid gold, extra virgin olive oil, and there's no better place to dive into this topic than at Capezzana, a historic estate in the Carmignano region that has been making both wine and olive oil for generations. I'm joined by Beatrice Contini Bonacossi, one of the family's members behind Capezzana, which is not only known for its elegant wines, but also for producing some of the highest quality olive oil in Tuscany. We'll explore how great olive oil is made, what makes it so healthy and flavorful, and how you can use it in your kitchen. And just a reminder, at Grape Tours, we visit Capezzana on our Carmignano day tour, where guests get to taste both their exceptional wines and this incredible olive oil straight from the source. So let's pour a little olive oil, grab a piece of Tuscan bread, and jump into the world of extra virgin olive oil with Beatrice. Thank you, Beatrice, for coming on this show and for sharing your insider's knowledge of olive oil. How are you?
I'm very well.
Yeah.
Looking to the olive trees now, we're starting to understand how much production we're going to have because we just ended the flowering and now we have the little, really, really tiny little olives there. So hopefully it's going to be a great
season.
Fantastic.
So for our listeners, we're in the middle of a heat wave here in Tuscany and the temperature is around 40 degrees Celsius or 100 Fahrenheit. So it's a little warm. So we decided to sit inside. We're at Capezzana and we're in one of the dining rooms right now. So we're here with Beatrice Contini Bonacossi, and she's going to be telling us a little bit about the family history, how they got here and how they got into farming and what products they're farming. But of course, we're going to focus today on olive oil.
So, my family, they bought Capezzana in 1926, and my great-grandparents, Vittoria and Alessandro, even if Capezzana has a much, much older history, because my sister found this document in an archive in Florence in 1984, and it's a document written in Latin where they describe Capezzana the same kind of farmers today with wine production and olive oil production. So this document is dated 804. So 804. Over 1,200 years.
Wow, that's incredible. What a legacy to have.
Yes, it's very, very, we were very proud, very, very pleased when she found it. So, and my great-grandparents, they just fall in love. They lived in Spain for almost 20 years. And when they decided to move back to Italy, they were looking for a nice winery. They were looking for a place with the olive oil and wine. And they came to Capezzana, they fell in love, and they bought in 1926. So I represent today the fourth generation, together with my sister Benedetta, she's a winemaker, and my youngest brother Filippo is in charge of some markets, together with me. And we now have the fifth generation, so our new CEO is my nephew Ettore, and together with Ettore there is Serena, that she's in charge of hospitality, and Gado is in charge of the vineyards.
Wow. How is it to work with family? Is it always easy or could it be a bit difficult at times?
Sometimes, but it's the good things about working with family that you can tell or scream each other, and then at the end you always, the family is more important. So I really like it, I really enjoy. I think it's really nice, and I really enjoy now that the fifth generation is taking over.
Yeah.
I think it's nice to see that there is this great interest in going on, and so to continue.
Somehow that must make a lot of sense as well with a family farm like yours, that you're working not just towards a goal of, let's say, lucrative goal, but also towards a future. And you know it's going to keep on in your family, which is a fantastic vision to have, I think.
Yeah, you know, I think it's nice to see that some of the fifth generation is really has a lot of passion, because I think this job you can only do if you're passionate. I mean, any kind of job, but you know, this one in particular. And so it's nice to see there. And I think there will be some more, you know, they're still young and they're still doing something else, but you know, I think there will be some more join us. So that's really, really nice.
That's wonderful. Well, Capezzana is a fantastic place. We're in Carmignano, which is the name of the local village, which is really beautiful. We're about 45 minutes, well, for me this morning a bit longer because of traffic, 45 minutes west of Florence. It's a wine region, one of Italy's smallest DOCGs with plenty of history. We're basically in the territory of the Medicis. Can you give us a little bit of background?
Yeah, the very important document for the Tuscan wines is the document that was written by Granduca Cosimo III, the Medici. In 1716, he picked 4 wine areas in Tuscany, and one of them is Carmignano. The other 3, one is Chianti, which is smaller than Chianti Classico today. The other one is Pomino, it's where they produce Pomino and Chianti Rufina. And the 4th one is Valdarno. So, but Carmignano was the area where the Medici family, because we are so close from Florence, was the area where the Medici family were moving from Florence to our area during the summer, when it was getting, you know, even back then it was getting really hot in Florence because it's in a valley. So they decided to move to spend the summer around here, and they built many Medici villa. Poggio a Caiano and Artimino are the biggest one and the most known. But for example, we own Villa di Capezzana and Trefiano. And they surrounded the property with a wall called Barcoreale, which is the name of our Carmignano, young Carmignano, Rosso di Carmignano. So inside the wall was 55 kilometers long. They were producing wine, they were producing olive oil, and they were hunting. So it was a little bit Carmignano, as you said, it is today the smallest DOCG in Tuscany. Now we just grown up to 17 producers, so still very, very tiny. But it's really one of the oldest. And what makes the difference from the other DOCG in Tuscany is the blend, because since the Medici time, since Caterina de' Medici, it's always been a blend of Sangiovese with Cabernet, which at that time was Cabernet Franc. So it's something that is, you know, you can put Cabernet in the Chianti Classico. In Carmignano, it's mandatory. So it's from 10 to 20% Cabernet. Today, even Cabernet Sauvignon.
Exactly. In terms of the terroir of Carmignano, what, in your opinion, makes it unique and especially good also for the olive trees?
So I think there are few factors. Definitely is like the one that we call terroir. So it's a mixture of what the climate. We are very close to the Apennine, so even when it's really, really hot during the day, around 6, 7 o'clock, we have this nice breeze coming from the Apennine. And then we have the Montalbano, they separate us from the seaside. So, the soil is very important too, because the vineyards are faced different direction, and the soil can change even in the same vineyards. So my brother Vittorio used to say, this chaotic, soil from, clay, schist, limestone, marl, all these things, they really give something very special. So the Carmignano, the wine and the olive oil, they're wine that the wine they can age very well, but we are very, very elegant. For us, the most important thing is longevity and elegance, and the same is for the olive oil. Our olive oil, we sell all the production by the end of the year, so we start usually middle of October, and by the end of the year is all sold out, because we started a few years ago, now it's like 25 years ago, to export abroad the idea of the olio nuovo, new olive oil. And our oil, because it's not aggressive, is not really bitter, because we have a lot of moraiolo. We will talk about the different kind of olives later. It's a very elegant, gentle, so I like to say it's a olive oil for chefs. So all over the world, we have the chefs that are waiting for the new olive oil, because they can use our olive oil in many different dishes, more than other olive oil, which are fantastic from other regions, but they're really bitter, really spicy when they're fresh, especially when they're fresh. So our olive oil is more easy, more gentle, more elegant. So it's a really nice thing to see that, you know, you go to London and you have a fittunta, or you have the cavolo nero, the pesto cavolo nero. So some dishes that they come from here, and you see that then chef, they take it, and you see a little bit in the States, you know, all over.
You have some great collaborations with some very, very good restaurants and shops around the world, correct?
Yes. We have our biggest customer for the olive oil is the River Cafe in London. They've been using our olive oil since they opened, so I think it's 35 years. And, you know, we had a lot of different chefs also in the States. We actually, the new olive oil, not to UK because it can go on with the truck, but in the US and Japan, we ship it the new olive oil, which is actually labeled as a new olive oil. We ship it by airplane.
Wow.
So even in Japan, you know, and the US, they before Christmas, they already have the olive oil. So this is something that is, it's very important, because they always say, you know, our olive oil can even last. But, you know, for the law, an olive oil can last 24 months from the day you bottle. And this is a law that doesn't really help producer like us, that we have the vintage on the olive oil, because you can actually bottle a 2-year-old olive oil and it will last 24 months. So I always tell to people, and I suggest that you should always look for the vintage on the bottle to be sure that it's really fresh. And so now, of course, you're looking for the 24. You may still find some good 23, but, you know, olive oil is not like wine. It doesn't get better in aging. So, you know, the fresher it is, the better it is.
Exactly. So you mentioned you have a lot of moraiolo. What are the other varieties, and how many trees do you guys have?
So we have 26,000 trees, which is with 130 hectares. And so we have mostly is like 60% is moraiolo, then there is 30% is frantoio, and 10% between leccino and pendolino.
Okay, so your olive oils are always blends, right?
It's always blend. Yeah. We did taste some, but I think the complexity and the balance of a blend olive oil, you can't really get it, because it's nice to see that, for example, frantoio get the spiciness and a little bit of bitterness, as moraiolo gave this really like artichokes, you know, a mouthful, and so it's nice to have them blend.
In terms of agriculture, how labor intensive is it to look after that many trees? How do you guys organize that?
So about 25, probably like 28 years ago, my brother Filippo, that he was in charge of the olive oil, he started a really great idea, so a kind of legal sharing cropper. So we have divided our land in 100 lots, and each lot has 1 or 2 people. Most of them are retired people. They used to be our workers. Some of them are our workers that they do over the weekend or when they finish working. So they do everything manual. So they prune, they pick the olives. We do everything mechanic. So we work the soil, we cut the grass. We are organic wines and olive oil. So if you have to do some kind of treatment, organic treatment, we do it, and then we press, because we are really lucky and to have our own oil mill. And so we press and we divide it 50% each.
Oh, wow, that's generous.
It's generous, but it's something that these people will never do it for money.
Right.
And these people, they want to make sure that they get a lot of enough olive oil for themselves, for their children, for their grandchildren, because this is really show the importance of the olive oil in the Tuscan cuisine. I mean, the Tuscan cuisine is a very simple cuisine. It's actually what is now famous around the world. It actually is a cuisine that comes from the farmers. Yeah. So, wherever it was available a vegetable garden, and what really was making a big difference was the olive oil. So these people are really, really important, because in the past, with our workers having so many trees, we used to prune every 4 or 5 years. So really drastic pruning. So they didn't really produce the tree for a year or two. So it's true that we give 50%, which is a lot. Sometimes we try to buy our olive oil back from them. But it's really important, because every tree is pruned every year gently from the same hand, and it really makes a big difference. Because olive oil is like, it's a fruit tree, so the more you take care, the more you produce. So it's a nice way to, and we do everything manual, so we don't have any, we don't pick the grapes with the olives with the machine. And so we have these nets that we put under the trees, and then with the stirrers, the comb. Some have electric comb, but they're really, really heavy. And then so all the olives, they fall into the nets. Then we get the olives and we bring it back to the oil mill. And because it's our oil mill, so we can actually pick the olives and press the olives the same day, which is really, really important for the quality of the olive oil.
Can you explain why that is? Because that is something that a lot of people don't know, and I think in this podcast, it would be wonderful if people could understand the difference between a scarce quality and a high quality olive oil, not just in the price difference, but what is actually the process to get to a fantastic product.
So I think the real secret is to press the olives in less than 24 hours. During the day, we also press for other people, and we always suggest them, they should come every day, a little quantity, but they should come every day to have it pressed as soon as possible. And because this is all the matter of the acidity, the 0.9 is the maximum of acidity for extra virgin, and when we start, we are around 0.12, and we get to 0.2 at the end. So we are like so much below. But if you wait with the olives in the boxes for a few days, some people comes like once a week, and you will never, the acidity goes up, and you will never get the same quality of olive oil.
Exactly. You basically lose all the goodness inside of the olives, and you're just making an oil, but it will perhaps even start to stink a bit after a week. It's really important to bring those olives to the press as soon as possible in order to preserve all of the vitamins, antioxidants, and so forth. So that's why we want to make sure that's what we do in the process. Wait a second, I already did that one. When you are in a shop and let's say you're forced to buy an olive oil that's not Capezzana, what would you look for? And what do you think about the terms, the commercial terms, cold press and first press, that people see and believe are an indicator of a good olive oil?
With the new oil mill, cold press and first press doesn't really mean too much, because it used to be when there used to be the big stones. What I usually look for is the vintage, for sure, and if it's produced and bottled by. Because if you only see bottle in Florence, that means, that people are just buying the olives or even the olive oil from other part of Italy, or even, some of the olive oil, they say olio mediterraneo, so that means that they can come from any country around the Mediterranean Sea. So I think the very important things is the vintage and to know from where, because there are some really good olive oil even from different parts of Italy, from Sicily, from Puglia, from Abruzzi, from, Umbria. So it's very, very important to know there is and if I know that they have an oil mill, it's another thing. If they know they have their own oil mill, it's definitely it's another quality that they can have.
Exactly, because then they can control that processing.
Exactly.
And would you look for organic? I mean, you are organic, so
yes.
You would definitely look for that.
I will definitely look for organic when I go and get some olive oil, when I have to buy. I like to buy olive oil, of course, especially when it's fresh, to taste other people olive oil, other area around Tuscany. So this is something that I always do. And but I only use organic olive oil because the treatment against the fly, which is the only disease really the olive trees have, the one that is not organic is not really good for you. So and the organic, of course, costs more because if it rains, you have to do it again. But I think it's something that we do for our clients, for our workers, for the environment. So it's something very important.
Well, we thank you for that. So we were talking a little bit about the shelf life of an olive oil, the rules versus actual practice. A really good olive oil, how long can you keep it? And how does it change over time?
So you can keep it even, our olive oil, you can even keep it more than 2 years, even, which is the time that they are for the law, but even 3-4 years. But it loses the fruitness, the freshness, and it's also very important where you keep it. So if you find an olive oil on the shelves, you have to be sure that it's not there, doesn't sit there for like 2-3 years. And the color of the bottle is very important too. So the better olive oil that always have dark color, so you don't see the color. But the olive oil gets a lot of oxidation from the sun. So olive oil should be kept in a cupboard with not the light and not too much heat. The heat doesn't help, doesn't help the olive oil. So some people, you can put on near the stove while you're cooking, but then it's better to put in a cupboard to maintain better. So
exactly. So no light on your olive oil bottles, no heat, and hopefully no air. So always buy olive oils in the size of bottle that you think you could use over a month. Mm-hmm. Don't buy those big, huge containers unless you're a restaurant. Even if you're maybe saving a couple of dollars or euros. How do you like to use your olive oil? If you have a completely new olive oil, is it used for garnishing? Is it used for cooking?
So what I do, for example, I just ran out of last year olive oil, 23, which I usually use for cooking. And so now I'm doing everything with just one olive oil. But I will say that, as I said before, the Tuscan cuisine doesn't use so much olive oil while you're cooking. Most of the olive oil is used after to finish a dish, and then you use a lot to finish a dish. So, for example, I have a family, we are 5, and we go through 50 liters of olive oil in a year because it's like it's a simple way of cooking, and what really makes a difference is a good olive oil. And you get used to a good olive oil. I remember my youngest daughter, once I just cooked just a little piece of meat with an olive oil that was left in a house that I rented. And I gave it to her. She was like 5 years old. She was like, oh, wow, which olive oil did you use? I was like, oh my God. She's said, that's not Capezzana. I said, no, it's not Capezzana.
That's funny.
So you get really spoiled with good olive oil. I think it's really hard. I mean, even with wine, but with olive oil, once you know, you appreciate the good olive oil, you can't really go back to the big supermarket olive oil.
That's so correct. I feel the same way. And actually, it kind of embarrasses me. I feel like I'm a bit of an olive oil snob, and sometimes I'm known for bringing my own olive oil if I go other places, and I don't trust the olive oil I could get there. So it's kind of funny you feel the same way.
Yeah, I do the same. You know, when we used to go to ski in the north of Italy, I always was bringing it, and all my friends are like, ah, ha, ha, ha. And then, can I have some of olive oil?
Exactly. So as an olive oil producer, what's the biggest challenge in producing and selling a prime olive oil?
We do pretty well with selling, and because you have to find the right person. And a part of the UK where we have the same importer for wine and olive oil, the rest of the world we actually have different kind. It's like a food importer for the olive oil and the wine importer. So there's two different things, because at the end the person that you're dealing with for the olive oil is a chef, and for the wine is a sommelier. So it's two different people. And once you are this kind of a distribution, is not so difficult, because I must say that people are really faithful with the olive oil. So for example, in 2014, we didn't produce since we were there, since 1926, we didn't produce the olive oil. I mean, we picked the olives for one day, we pressed, we tasted, we said, no, cannot go. And it was amazing to see that, we send a letter saying, we don't think it's fair for us, we should not produce the olive oil. And then we got so many nice letters saying, how people would appreciate. And I was really scared. I said, oh my God, I hope next year they will buy it again. Yeah. And it was like we didn't lose any customers. So to be very transparent and very sincere with your customer, it was really I was really nice impressed. So
what happened that year that you didn't get any?
That year it did rain a lot, and so we had a lot of fly, and not just because we were organic, but because even the people that were making olive oil organic, the olive oil was not good. And when you have a fly, the olive oil get oxidized very soon. So, because we know what our quality is, we decided if we couldn't reach that quality, we'd rather to say not this year.
Excellent.
As you said before, I think when you look for olive oil, please look for the vintage. Look that is where it's produced, so be really sure that is produced and bottled by. And if people give it, because sometimes people when I go to some people, to friends, I give us a bottle, and maybe a year later I go back and they're like, I still have your olive oil. I said, no, you shouldn't. So use it as soon as as Rebecca said, as soon as you buy, you use it, and keep it in a proper cupboard and enjoy.
Exactly, and enjoy. Well, a big grazie to Beatrice Contini Bonacossi for joining me today and sharing her deep knowledge and passion for olive oil. It's truly one of Tuscany's treasures. If this episode made you crave a taste of real extra virgin olive oil, you can visit Capezzana with us on our Carmignano tour with Grape Tours. We'll take you behind the scenes of the frantoio, so the olive oil mill, taste their beautiful wines, and of course, try their wonderful, freshly pressed green olive oil right at the source. Thanks for tuning in to Life is Grape in Tuscany. If you enjoyed this episode, please share with your foodie friends. Until next time, keep life flavorful, and remember, life is grape. Salute!
Salute!